This video is brought to you by, at the moment, 374 amazing souls over on my Patreon. So long as the total remains over 2250, I will continue to cover a larger anime. If you love experiencing this anime alongside me, want to join me for my first time and see what I think, or maybe learn something new you hadn't noticed before, then feel free to pledge on Patreon, linked below, and so long as we remain over 2250, I will continue to cover a large anime. Join up now for amazing rewards and to help keep me on the platform. A nice and simple start to the anime, laying out the general gist of the entire show in much the same way as Hunter x Hunter's start does. You know, for an anime which started airing in Japan on literally my 11th birthday, it's got a remarkably decent first OP. Good song, nice visuals, liked the world map view, and a look at all the peeps. Even though due to the music it comes across as being a tad on the childish side, it's still a good representation of the dangers of the sea in this world. Very briefly, not running on the spot. I like her, I've always liked her, I've seen a lot of her being into anime for years, but never watching this anime, so yeah, she gets a win. Luffy! To be fair to them, didn't have to animate that, fair few frames involved in it too. Nicely laying out the characters' personalities from the start. Luffy is a straight shooter, and for now, he's a bit of a coward. This short exchange does a real good job of letting us in on his carefree and funny side, I gotta say. In the same vein, this then lets us know that he's deadly serious about his goal and it's far from a laughing matter to him. Cheesy sound effects aside, that was actually pretty damn funny. It's cool that in spite of being on opposite sides, one being a pirate, the other wanting to join the navy and catch pirates, that he still saves him here from his life with them. It's impressive that the very first episode included what I like to call fresh battles, where there's no repeated movements to ease the animation workload and each movement is unique. The first of these types of his attacks. Mad props for literally including character building within the very first episode of your story. Hot damn! Just a quick one for thinking to include environmental damage after the attack. Certainly feels like there should be a win for the first time he beat a proper enemy on the high seas. Take a follow-up win here from win number 12. Again, in spite of being basically enemies at this stage, or intended enemies at least, he goes this far for him. Says a lot about him, I think. Very, very simple visuals with the ED, the future crew just appearing alongside Luffy, and a fairly nice song. Navy Base Island Senorita. I must admit, you can clearly see how the manga and anime truly has its own visual style in moments like this. They can absolutely have a win for this, as it's exactly what I was hoping was going to be said as a joke. I love that. Alex Dudley from the Trolls Crossbell Art games. The mangaka avoiding exposition in the second ever episode, if you know what I mean by having him clearly try and get rid of her before they turned up without outright having it via internal monologue. With absolutely zero thought or hesitation, he leaps into action to save her from getting hurt. Should be mentioned that the soldier told her how to avoid getting too hurt before throwing her though. The anime and of course the manga did a good job of showcasing why characters are good guys from the start, like here with Zoro. Art style change.
ところ退屈だから明日ゾロを処刑することにしたぜ。
俺はゾロを仲間にする!
If there's one thing that can be easily said of Luffy at this early stage is that whilst normally carefree, he's a man of goodness and honour, and so hearing this immediately sends him into action.
俺は偉い! 終わりには近頃貢ぎが少ねえんじゃねえか。
The newer voice of Isaac Netero from Hunter x Hunter.
殺したんだろうな。
いや、だってあれまだほんのガキだし。
Thank goodness they included this moment in episode 2, otherwise pretty much no one would have one day been on board with him being a more important and not too bad of a character later on.
ゾロさんを助けられるのはルフィさんだけです。そして今ルフィさんを助けられるのもゾロさんだけだと僕は思います。
Is it just me or is that not a really well written statement? It's interesting really that one of the most important power aspects a character can have is revealed in literally the first episode and explored in the second.
ここでくたばるくらいならなってやろうじゃねえか海賊に
Have one for him joining the crew and doing so in a logical way as well, not just because he asked or whatever.
悪魔の実。それを食った奴はこの世のものとも思えぬ能力を身につけるという。
Getting the first proper introduction to these super fruits, which I only know a little about thanks to some non-spoilerish type research ahead of covering the series. Animating multiple characters moving within the same scene together.
俺は自分の野望だけは貫くぞ。世界一の剣豪になることだ。
Follow up to win number 33, he has a logical reason outside of survival to join Luffy, and I do like that.
ガムガムの
Normally, I wouldn't give a win for just another different type of his attack, but you gotta admit, that one was pretty awesome how they did it, sweeping across the entire screen like that. Actually, some very nice and smooth animation on that battle, and again, very fresh. Smells great, all unique movements from one moment to the next.
ルフィさん僕ルフィさんの邪魔をしたくありません死んでもああ知ってるよ
Good to see character progression built in already. You almost never see that happen. It's episode 3 and he says this.
ゾロ
お安い御用だキャプテン
Gotta admit, I'm shocked to be issuing out wins for stuff like this so early on, but the fact that clearly he knew Zoro would intervene before he got hit with the attack is brilliant.
バギー船長不死身のバギーと呼ばれている男
It's interesting how all of their stories were written within the larger story to have them head in the same direction and take up the same enemies, I gotta say.
海賊船はどこだ
I've talked about this before, as someone who is really into starting from scratch type RPGs like the Elder Scrolls and GTA and so on. It's not an RPG, but you know what I mean. I do enjoy things like this. 2 wins here. Firstly, I love me a good old first look at the world map of the series. But secondly, I also really appreciated the lore drop at the same time.
ああ別れちゃうけどなずっと友達だあなたたち2人には自分の信念に生きることを教わりました
That was unexpectedly sweet.
アルビダの海賊船に2年いたのは事実なんだろう海軍の情報力を見くびるなその事実が知れたら入隊なんてできねえぜ
It's very easy to look at the art and write it off as a glance as a kid's show, but you'd miss moments like this of realism, or the heart on display, or the character growth early on and more.
やったなこの野郎
君らが仲間じゃないことはよくわかった
わざとだったんだ僕は最後の最後まであの人に頼ってしまった
Although a little long-winded with the amount of punches he threw at the lad, it still proved a point to the men that he isn't a pirate, and so, with that exposition, Luffy proves he's a good guy once more.
私はまだこの子を信用しきれません。
海賊が海軍のスパイになるという例もあります。
Bro, is it just me or is that not a continuously excellent display of realism and lore?
じゃあ
入隊を許可する。
Believe it or not, it's been about 4 or maybe 5 years since I covered the first 18 episodes on Anime Sins, and I can't recall this happening. Actually, most of it I've forgotten, but yay for him!
ありがとうございました。このご恩は決して忘れません。マサオーナーゴビー
全員蹴れ。いい友達を持ったな。
はい。いつかきっとどこかで会いましょう、ルフィさん。
Can I just say, take a follow-up win here to the last win, because I'm genuinely enjoying this so much more now that my head is in a 100% wins brain area and not sins. It's truly a different experience, and I loved this here. Getting our first glimpse of what set Luffy onto this path in the first place, which I'd also totally forgotten.
小さな船は転覆にご注意。ビンゴ。じゃあね。お宝もらっとくわ。
Aside from being somewhat entertaining, what the win here is for is showcasing early on that she has navigational skills and understands the seas before meeting Luffy and joining the crew.
いつになったら陸に着くんだよ。
さあな。なんせ風任せ波任せだもんな。
Very clever win here. I like how their first boat is pretty useless because you can't even really guide it, much like hers just now, and thus an upgrade was much needed and added to the story in many ways.
シャンクス。 A well-done scene by all accounts, showing the importance of the hat as a symbol to Luffy due to its owner, but also I liked how they did it slow motion and how Zoro clearly felt responsible to get it back. これはガキじゃない。もう大人だ。
ああ、そう怒るな。ジュースでも飲め。
あありがとう。
掃除が好きらしいな。これくらいの方がやりがいがある。
なんで笑ってんだよ。あんなのかっこ悪いじゃないか。なんで戦わないんだよ。
Getting to see Luffy as a kid and how he became involved with pirates, but the main win is for showing how much he's changed, as clearly nowadays he's fairly laid back compared to here.
やけ食いかルフィ。その箱か。その箱の中のものを食べたのか。
Also getting to see Luffy gain his powers, quite funny how it happened by all accounts as well, especially the very quick shut up from him there, goes by so fast.
ゴムゴムの実は悪魔の実とも言われて、食えば全身ゴム人間。そして一生泳げない体になっちまうんだ。
Great to include a serious downside likely to each fruit, so it's not just a case of nothing but perks for eating them.
店に誰もいないんで何事かと思えば、いつかの山賊じゃねえか。
船長さん。
The amazing Kaito from Hunter x Hunter.
聞きよ。
甘えこと言ってんじゃねえ。聖者でも相手にしてるつもりか。うぬぼれんなよ山賊。うちと一戦やりたきゃ軍艦でも引っ張ってくるんだな。
I absolutely loved how they handled that from a cinematography standpoint. The gun going off, but it's one of their men hitting the floor instead. Then they're over there looking like the Phantom Troop.
うせろ。
That rescue of Luffy and the aftermath there is totally worth a win. Dude looked like a total badass.
安いもんな。腕の一本くらい。無事でよかった。
My memory must be terrible because I made a video on this 5 years ago and totally forgot this. So plot twist.
この帽子をお前に預ける。俺の大切な帽子だ。大事にしろよ。
Between the powerful imagery of him gifting him the hat for his journey to surpass he and his crew and that great music, that was bloody brilliant.
ぼーっとしてっとまた落とすぞ。大事なもんなんだろ。
ああ。Thank you な、ゾロ。
I liked that. Might be me reading into it, but I saw him as reverting back to that kid back then, when he put it on for a moment. Bit long to show it all, but them trying to take their ship and Zoro doing this.
悪魔の実シリーズのある実を食った男でね。とにかく恐ろしい人なんです。
Super intriguing that the mangaka wrote in a devil fruit user so early on into the story, I must say. Not running on the dinging spot.
負けるなこの俺の宝物に触るな
Not sure how I missed it the first time around. Guess, like I said before, my brain is in the sinning space, but I do really appreciate how serious he gets when someone messed with the hat. Definitely take one for these two meeting properly for the first time. She's eager to join him, which is pretty cool. I figured it would be the other way around, and he was very cool about it too.
まだ捕まらんのか泥棒は。
Jugo from Jujutsu Kaisen. That's the cursed spirit with the volcano looking head by the by.
俺は誰だ
Making his devil fruit ability be so wildly different to Luffy's really sets the stage for how varied the powers will be.
私はこの町の人間じゃないわ。町の人間はバギーを恐れて逃げちゃったのよ。
I keep getting blown away by the law. So easy to make it completely void of life, but instead, this house looks very lived in. Like, the animators took care to show that.
みんなでナミの歓迎会を開くんだ派手にやれ
I know I already win the voice actor, but take one more here for his actual performance. Does a great job of fitting this character.
喧嘩
And this is why win number 71 was super important to fit in at the time and to do it right. By making the house feel truly lived in, seeing them recklessly destroy the homes hits so much harder. In many ways, this is an even harder shot for an animator to create because all the environmental damage is displayed so vividly, not just brushed over with some lines and such.
中途半端な覚悟で海賊を相手にしようとするからそうなるんだ。覚悟って何よ？自分の命をかける覚悟だ。
I tell you, for a lovable goofball, he doesn't half come out with some seriously deep stuff from time to time. Have a silly win for literally making me think of Estelle from the Amazing Trails games when she did this. Same colour hair, using a large stick, I love it. Yet another instance of a fresh battle, not one repeated movement. Says a hell of a lot about her, actually, that she'd go this far to save the life of someone she only just met and who may be a genuine pirate bad guy in her mind at this point.
おいおい女一人におめえら何人がかりだゾロ何がそんなにおかしい
バラバラの実
That was actually fairly creepily done, but the win is for showing that devil fruits can impart more than one soul ability. The end of the episode can have one purely for going against the grain by having Luffy give him an order to run, yet Zoro fights a bit more, turns the cannon on them, and then they all escape instead. Zoro continuing to be a badass, and as I just mentioned, totally went against anime rules by rescuing Luffy before leaving.
店番さ
店
そうわしは奴の代わりに餌をやりに来たんだ死んだ3ヶ月前にな病気でな
As a doggo dad to two good boys, one of whom is getting older real quick before my eyes, this kind of breaks my heart. This is what I meant before about the houses that were destroyed and the environmental damage. When that cage gets wrecked, the bits fly everywhere, and obviously they had to do that by hand.
生きてんのよあんた生きてちゃ悪いか家並みぶち抜いてぶっ飛ばされてピンピンしてるの変よそうか
I do adore his carefree attitude at times like this. Massive props to the voice actress for the performance. Video gets its first 2 max wins here. If you know me, you know I love animals so damn much. So naturally, as you can guess, this really made me tear up, defending his owner's place long after he's gone.
必ず良くなるわしが戻るまでしっかり店番しててくれよ
留守を頼むぞ。
Yeah, then you go and give me that. Checked into hospital, every intention of getting better, and sadly never left. They totally found a wins vein that goes directly to my sappy heart and they're exploiting it. You know this gets a win. Very, very sad one for his home being destroyed. What I love about this is that due to the impact made by the hat earlier on, it shows that by allowing it to drop to the floor without a thought means that in this moment Luffy was overcome by anger for what he saw that little dog get taken away from him. Again, I loved that symbolism and non-exposition.
仲間集めて人を襲い出す前にここで殺してやろうか。
ああ、おいやめんか娘。
Just like I said before, if you ever mistook this for a kid's show due to the old style of the animation originally, you'd be absolutely floored by a real human moment such as this.
これしか取り返せなかったよ。あと全部食っちまいやがってよ。よく戦ったなお前。見ちゃいねえけど大体わかる。
For this incredibly wholesome moment, both being nice to animals is usual type of win, but for the music on top of it really hitting that emotional vibe, it's 2 max wins again.
ああ、お前も頑張れよ。
Ah, go on then. You squeezed one more out of me for that ending. Love the notion that the dog will now protect that single bag of food representing the store and gave a thank you bark.
つい怒鳴って。いいさ、お前いろいろあったんだろ。
Luffy really does grow on me more and more by the episode at the moment.
40年前、この土地はただの荒れ地だった。わしらは力を合わせて切り開き。
Oh, you so easily scored a win for giving me lore about the town and then showing it, not just saying it. Bless you. Zoro surviving the blast, kind of a given of course, but the main win is for once again, it's so clever, showing the town and its people beforehand building, so when it's wrecked it hits home harder.
わしはこの町の町長じゃ。この町はわしが守る。待っておれ、どけのバギー。
Honestly, it's just the height of awesome to see this elderly man so angry at what's been done to his town that he wants to rush in his armor to save the day. Bless his heart!
俺たちが目指すのはグランドライン。これからその海図をもう一度奪いに行く。
Liked seeing the team form together under a common goal right now, but also how the larger goal is set in motion, that being getting the map of the Grand Line so they can get there. Them all turning up in, honestly, such a cool way as well. Music kicks in, I love it. Matthew Blancet, Nick Wyndham, Lightly Winter, Christopher Willis, Draki, Fancy Turtle, Kepan, Liam Knight, Luis Minito, Marquez, Keeper, The Ever Commander, Bird Without a Word, Brandon Crea, Brian Bayot, Christian Torassa, Commander Cyrus, Doggos for Life, Dragonstorm 35, Emmanuel Gonzalez, Aaron Winters, I Am Here, Your Edvinson, Kevin Alston, Cumfroik, Kylie Welp, Lisa Marie Timp, Magnus, Nathan Burr, Peter Milligan, Satakayari, Sionx 44, Sean, Sheriff Yuchiya, The 100s, Elemental Wars, Wicken Faye, Ali 50, Brainless Ben, Cecilia, Cloud Garden, Cedric, Dark Lord Bloody Soul, Def the Kid 123, Devon, Eclipse Mage, Garrett Vermeesh, Gibbs, Hoved Loads Ritter, Israel Caldera, Jason Davies, John, Juffa 6263, Kelnock, Kevin Nelter, Kai 158, Kyle Jones, Laxor, Laxus, Liam Gagati, Lifty, Lionel Schultz, Marvin, Michael Lewis, Mr. Firecool, Natsu Dragneel, Nick Monaco, Nick Pell, 9028, Oliver Smiley Reacts, Q Flash, Ryan DeVerez, Sentimento, Storm 970, TRS, The Danish Muggle, Tricky Nicky, Willyman,